Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jess and the Guest. I'm so excited for my guest today, the incomparable and very talented Keith Jones. And yes, you have to say that every time you see him. Keith is a multi-regional Emmy and Edward Murrow award-winning news anchor, host, reporter. I'm pretty sure there's not one person in Philadelphia who doesn't know who he is. He's covered stories from multiple Olympics to being in the demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea. No big deal, just the most dangerous border in the world. He's interviewed celebrities from Meghan Trainor to Sesame Street and millions of others. One thing I wish more people knew about Keith is how funny he is. I do think he'd be a great stand-up comedian, but for my own sake, I hope he doesn't go into it because he would destroy me and my career. I think the older I get, in all seriousness, I want to surround myself with people who lead by example, and no person does that better than Keith. I hope you like this episode. He is the best. How did you get used to mornings? Like, this is the earliest I've been awake, and it's not even that early. So I'm like, how are you doing it?
You don't get used to it. That's the worst part. You literally, I have like 6 alarms that go off in different ways around my bedroom.
Yeah.
Try to go to bed at 6 p.m. That never works.
Oh, God.
Like 7, 8 o'clock. And that's a good night. I have like Amazon Alexa. So like the lights turn on at 2 a.m. I've got an alarm clock that's battery powered across the room. I've got Alexa playing music. My phone's got the timer and 2 alarms set up. My butt is getting up. Regardless, it's like the hardest thing.
I know. Do you drink a lot of coffee? Do you like?
I try to limit it to like a cup, just a cup of coffee in the morning. I try. Yeah, because
oh
my God, I'll be wiry.
Yeah.
I'm not a nap kind of person. I'm
yeah.
I always like to stay awake through the whole day. Every time I take a nap, I'm out for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
It defeats the purpose. The shift is I'll get out by like hopefully 9, 10, 11 o'clock, depending on breaking news. And the rest of my day is like wide open. So if I wanted to, I go to bed at 6. So there's a cap to the day, but at the same time, like nobody's out, traffic down. So it's just me and a lot of old people.
I feel like
it comes down to.
I feel like you're also very stylish on air. Do you have like
I appreciate it.
Style guy, or I don't even know. I'm not a stylish person. How do you do it this early?
We have fashion consultants. Yeah, fashion consultants help me out big time. Like if it wasn't that, I'd be wearing what I wear at home, which is like t-shirts and like Amazon Essentials polo. Yeah. I mean, I'm like a huge fan of that brand. But no, I'm super chill and relaxed usually. But yeah, for this, it's like they give me on everything I wear.
Yeah. Does your dog get up really early too? You have, I think, the cutest dog I've ever seen. Yeah.
Thank you very much. He's funny. He, yes and no. He gets to me. He's not excited to wake up at 2 o'clock. I am able to get him outside. I feed him, and that's it. And then he goes right back to his bed in the living room, and he's out. So he sleeps with me in bed in my room, downstairs, takes his second nap of the day, basically.
Yeah.
At home, and then he's wired, which is great.
My dogs, even just this morning, they would not get up. They were like, "What are you doing? Like, why?" Doing research on you, I was like, "How are you doing everything? Do you sleep ever?" I'm guessing not any. Now that we're talking about it, but
that's really nice of you to say. When I went to Villanova, I always had this idea that if I was ever given a platform in the public eye or some kind of step up to be able to do the things that I'm really passionate about, I'm going to take advantage of it. We only get one life. Yeah. Villanova, like pumps community is like the theme of attending Villanova. So I always said, okay, if I get a job like this, I want to do other things. And so the first thing I tried, and I was very lucky that Villanova had an opening to teach. I did that. So I've been teaching there now 8 years, which is nuts, as an adjunct professor of broadcast journalism. That's once a week. That's the biggest other that I've got, though. Keeping track of like anywhere from 13 to 20 students every semester is a pretty brutal thing.
Yeah. But
insanely rewarding. Like I tell people that it's probably more fulfilling to do that than I do here at broadcast. This is pretty selfish that I get a rush from being on TV. Yeah. I feel validated because it's a service that we provide to people. So I'm helping people. Yeah. Whereas with teaching, I get to see from like day one to the final, a student make progress and develop. And then a lot of them stay in touch with me, whether they get business of, you know, journalism or broadcasting or not. And that's like the coolest, most rewarding thing ever.
Oh,
And I do it for that reason, because it's like the things, the strides that some of my former students have made, it's like just nothing short of like inspirational. And me go about my day and like gives me perspective. So I like that. So that's the teaching thing. And then the other things that pop up, like they at first, you know, encourage us here at NBC10 to like volunteer to MC events and, you know, be these hosts of like fundraising galas. And I've kind of attached myself to 3 of them. Mainline Deputy Dog. I love dogs. So Service Dog nonprofit based in Malvern was something that I really enjoyed. And so I volunteer on the board since its founding, since 2013. I've always been passionate about Turning Points for Children's, the largest social services nonprofit in Philly. The commitment is about once a month. I'll jump on a phone call and I'll host their Kids at Heart Gala every year at the Franklin Museum.
Yeah.
So it's a Franklin Institute, excuse me. So no, those things are just, you know, things on the side that are more fulfilling than anything else, that aren't necessarily crazy time commitments.
Yeah.
It's commitments is what it is, but they're things I want to do, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's so cool too, because I feel like you tell such great stories, not in so many different ways, like whether it's hosting or being on air, doing this, like literally everything. But I was surprised you're a great writer too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, I think the heart of journalism is good writing.
Yeah.
And I found through Villanova, like I have this like useless minor in journalism, or, excuse me, geez, in philosophy. I don't know why I pursued philosophy. I think I just liked writing the essays, which makes me a gigantic nerd.
Yeah.
But I just liked it. And I don't know what the heck I was pursuing.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do with philosophy these days? Like just teach it, that's it. Maybe go into become a lawyer, but no, I enjoyed it so much. And then somebody encouraged me to start writing for the Villanovan on the radio station there. And I was horrible on the radio. And then I got an internship my summer before my senior year here at NBC10.
Yeah.
Really, I fell in love with it after that. And yeah, then the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, it was so interesting to me to see you replace Vi Sigahama when you interned for him. Like that's such a full circle, crazy.
It's insane. I could never. I saw an article where they had the 2 of our pictures together, and I had this really weird moment where I thought back to like when I was in, you know, growing up, when I was in middle, high school, college, and it's surreal. Like this is really weird that something like this is happening. But I could not have had a better mentor in him, though. I mean, he is the most grounded, spiritual person. He's a great father, great husband, and it's like all the ideals that I want to emulate, and you know, and also hope to kind of follow in his footsteps. So to literally and figuratively try to do this morning show is awesome, and he obviously is super successful at everything he does too. So if I can have a modicum of that success just through emulation, I'd be really blessed.
Oh, I feel like you and Aaron too finish each other's sentences. Like, was it always like that?
That's a great question. It's funny. We hit it off, I think, in the first few months of us anchoring the 5 p.m. news together. And it's only gotten like deeper and deeper and deeper. I can't even describe it. I have really great relationships with a couple co-anchors in my career, namely like in London. I used to co-anchor with her all the time, and she's amazing. The most graceful, poised, polished anchor I've ever worked with. Then you have Erin, who's like, everything you see about her off camera is everything you get on camera.
Yeah.
It's a certain endearing quality to that.
Yeah.
It's easy to trust somebody like that.
Oh.
So her and I just like bounce off. We both have the same silly sense of humor. We both can look at each other and make each other laugh. The other morning, for instance, we had this incident where we were in studio. It was a serious story, but Bill Henley, our meteorologist, like walked in front of one of the monitors behind her, and like she almost lost it. And it's because like I looked at her, I had to turn away. Like it was like, oh no, it's one of these like YouTubeable moments. We can't let this happen. But like with the 2 of us, like, I mean, I'd trust her with anything on air. And when it happens in any performance, like if you're with somebody who you know you can trust and will set you up for success, like, oh my God, it's a huge leg up.
Yeah, I can't imagine being on air with someone you don't trust doing that schedule.
Oh,
Like, it sounds my nightmare.
it would have to be awful. No
Yeah.
question. Like it would have to be absolutely awful. And I don't even know how you get around it then. I mean, some people are really good. Some people are like sociopaths where they can completely block everything out and be really confident. Like, I'm not that guy. I once had a news director tell me that there are like two types of people in news. They're the people who have giant egos, who like the world revolves around them and they just exude confidence. And then the other side of the spectrum is people who are incredibly introspective and sensitive and compartmentalize the stress, and they read every viewer email. And I find myself, I trend more towards that latter category.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I watch some people, and you listen, and the people are super confident are really good usually. So it's a weird balance. I'm thankful I'm not on that, that super egotistic category.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard not to, consider things in your head. You say a word, you reflect on it. Like Steve Martin, I read Steve Martin's books.
So good.
Which is awesome. The first page perfectly, for me, encapsulates like what it is to be in front of a camera or in front of an audience. Like, say a word, you reevaluate in your head, you say the next prepared phrase. You're constantly like doing this cyclical process. You're looking at one person. Why did they react the way they did? While you're also delivering the next thing. It's like, nuts.
I don't know.
I don't know how you do stand-up. Stand-up is like, by far, of all the crafts, like as someone who teaches broadcast journalism and nonverbal behavior and speaking, I don't know how somebody does stand-up comedy. It is a daunting, grueling looking thing. And it's the craziest, you need bravery to be on stage. Even for 5 minutes, 5 minutes is an eternity. And you do it.
No, I just started doing it again after like a year with COVID. And I was like, wow, this is much harder than I remember it to be. But
like the craziest thing is like, I mean, I love following comedians. We email back and forth. But I love all their podcasts and I consume it constantly. I think it's the most free medium right now too. Free speech, which is amazing. But I also think like they can do the same material that would kill one night. Same exact thing, same performance the next night, and they'll be dead on stage. And it's like, that to me has got to be like the most nerve-wracking process. And then you've got like comedians that say like a Norm Macdonald that'll like just steer to the crash and live in that. And I'm like, oh man, take some bravery.
He's like one of my favorite comics too.
My all-time favorite.
I know. Yeah. And you just never know what's going to happen with him. Like,
Exactly.
Have you ever covered a story that has just like made you laugh? Like I would break on air all the time, I feel like.
Oh my goodness. You mean a story that is supposed to make me laugh or one that shouldn't make me laugh?
Either one. I feel like I read somewhere something about you with a pig or something.
Oh my God. So everyone has like these stories about like how they made it. Like Philly's a pretty big city. It's the 4th largest market. So I was in Virginia for 3 years, in middle nowhere, making no money and earning chops, and then Pittsburgh, cutting my teeth for 2 years. And the big story I covered, which I think was the icing on the cake, was the Jerry Sandusky sex abuse trial. Now that's not funny. I'm just
I know.
down context. And I was in that courtroom and it was horrible. And I figured that's going to be the moment. Like Philly's going to see me be able to handle a big story. But it wasn't that. It was at the end of a shift, I ended up rescuing a pig on the side of a road. And rescue is a weird word to use here too, because like it's on YouTube to this day. I always show it to my students. It was at the end of a long day. Our assignment editor called me and my photographer and said, hey, you guys need to turn around. Pig an hour south on this highway, and this woman's with it. Police won't come out there. Fire department won't come out there. So we get down there. I try calling police and fire. They appropriately say like, listen, dude, we got bigger fish to fry. And we meet this woman. She's got like pencils in her hair. She's decked out in like American flag. everything. Like, and it's like, this is a character. I love this. I love that. And we interview her, and I was expecting like, I don't know, some kind of like potbelly pig or some, even like end of the spectrum, like some feral pig.
Yeah.
Just like a farm pig. 30, 35 pounds in the weeds next to this busy highway. And I said, you know, it's been too long of a morning. I'm literally going to just grab this thing and put it in the back of her car so she could take it wherever, right? And so we mic'd me up, like I go just wearing a white t-shirt because like, Lord knows I don't want to get like, you know, pig all over me.
Yeah.
So I grab a blanket, pig in a blanket, great. Grab the pig, it squeals like crazy, put it in the back of this truck, and we finish the story. And like, oh, she's like, oh my God, you saved the day. This is great. I'm going to take it to wherever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is awesome. And I turn to my photographer and I'm like, okay, good. This is a fulfilling way to end the day. Then the woman shuts the trunk abruptly, drives away. And I'm like, wait a minute, what did we just do? Like, this pig was fine. This pig was just in the side of the road. It it couldn't have went far from its farm, right? Like, pigs don't travel miles. Like, it's probably somebody who lives around here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, knows what this woman's going to do with this thing. Maybe she eats some bacon or pork, or like, I might have just like literally, pig is what I'm saying. To kill, like, what's funny after that though is like, that story made me laugh because PETA sent me like vegan chocolates, and like they sent me a stuffed pig. It went viral. It was on Inside Edition and ABC News.
Oh my God.
World News. It was crazy. And then 3 stations from Philly called, and ABC and CBS. Like, that's what it was.
That's
like,
incredible.
it's basically like, I got an opportunity because I probably killed a pig. Like, literally what happened. And PETA patted me on the back for it.
This could be stand-up. You would kill.
I don't know. I still think I could do that.
Oh my God. I don't even know how to follow up with that, but that's amazing. So I feel like comedy and the entertainment's pretty similar, where when you're starting out, you make no money, you're trying to prove yourself. Like, what kept you motivated during that time to like keep going?
Man, so I do love like the art of storytelling is crazy. I mean, whether you're doing anything that's kind of live and it's authentic, right? Where it's not a rehearsed thing. So like stand-up is storytelling, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's a really hard thing to master. So you always have to work at it. And I found that. So in a small market, I was making $19,000 a year in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Stayed there for 3 years, basically working 50, 55 hours a week, reporting and anchor, and filling in on the anchor desk. Pittsburgh then hired me they doubled it for 2 years to report solely. And then I got some chances to fill in. And I think what it comes to is like, I was constantly reevaluating my work. I was always idolizing people here in Philly and New York too. So I was like, I need to get to that level. Mm-hmm. And I think it's until maybe a year or two, 2 years. Now people say to me, I've been in Philly for like coming on 9 years, and they're like, oh, I grew up watching you. And I'm like, I used to say these things to people. And so it's starting to feel like I've kind of earned a place, but I still have that mindset of like, I can always be better. The best thing about teaching at Villanova is like, you get to check yourself. Yeah. Remember what I was like when I took my own class. Yeah. See their promise and how naive they are, but also that naive passion. Yep. And this is a blessing what I do for a living. Like, I ought to be the best at it. Yeah. And it's an important service. Like, if there's anything about the last presidency that, from an unbiased standpoint, like, hey, journalism matters. Good journalism does. Yeah. Yeah. Considered fake news. I want to be somebody people can trust and their life around, which is important.
And everyone here, you were like the biggest celebrity, true, like not in a douchey way, but no, Keith Jones is coming on. Like,
no. I saw the list of people and like, are you sure you want me?
No, you're like the biggest. Like, if you weren't on the air, my mom would be like, "What is happening? Like, what is wrong with Keith?
Oh, that's sweet.
Where is he? What is going on?"
That's really, really nice. Really that means the world to me. That's cool.
No, you're amazing. And I can't believe you know Glenn Hurricane Schwartz. That's who I grew up with.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I went down to meet him. I had like the most insane Glenn Hurricane Schwartz moment ever. So he did two things. One, I anchored with him during the 5 p.m. news, and we would talk, and he started giving me pointers on like how I can get better. And also he gave me a lot of validation too, like, hey, you're really doing a really great job. And to hear that from Glenn was like this mind-blowing thing.
Yeah.
Second thing for me though, which is amazing. Only when I got there did I realize it was ridiculous. I grew up watching him. He invited my ex and I to go. He was like, oh, I'm staying at a casino, the Oceans Resort Casino with my wife. This is like 2 summers ago. Why don't you come down and like have brunch? And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. So I went down there, like I'm meeting him, sitting across from him, going like, and he's telling me like these stories from like the stuff behind the scenes from the people that I watched growing up. This is crazy. Like, this is surreal. And I'm thinking about the people he's talking about and going like, I remember watching them and thinking that was cool. And then realizing like, hold on a second, like I'm sitting next to the bow tie, like I'm sitting next to the man himself.
Yeah.
As equals. I mean, because he's that kind of person. He's authentic and down to earth, and cares very deeply about what he does for a living, which is why he's watch,
I watched him, like, I don't know if you remember this, the snow video with him playing in the snow. Like, that's what I watch when I'm sad. It was so
Hold on a second. You mean the one recently?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I have to send you, and I think you could probably show it if you want.
Okay.
Video. I did a melt reel of that. I took the raw video because he had to do a bunch of stuff in the snow. I think it was amazing. I have to send it to you. It's a reel of all the stuff he did. I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind. He's such a good sport.
You have such a good like reporter. I don't know the right term for it, like voice. I don't know. Do you like, I didn't realize how crazy I sound until I started doing this. And I was like,
oh,
I sound.
I still feel that way. It's weird. Like, and that's the thing. Like if you listen back to when I was in college, when I did my first stuff on camera or in Virginia and Pittsburgh, like here's a great like thing. So when I made my resume tape, right, a reel of all of the stuff I did on air from Pittsburgh, I raised the bass because I was so self-conscious that my voice wasn't deep enough. But I found like as I've gotten older, I don't know if it's like age or something else, like maybe comfort level and relax a little bit. Yeah. I think the voice has gotten better. I don't think I've got a great voice though. I mean, I hear these like super raspy, like smoky voices, and I'm like, God, I wish I had that. I say to everyone, I wish I had a cool voice. I'd love to do voiceovers, Yeah. It's super weird hearing your own voice for the first time. Like that's the best part of the semester for me when I'm having my students for the first time record their voices. Undoubtedly, like half the class goes like, man, I sound like an idiot. But it's like, no, they don't. You're just not, you're not familiar with it.
Yeah. You had any crazy like fan interactions or any like, do people like come up to you on the street all the time or like?
Not all the time. Like the way, I think one of my colleagues put it this way, like it's like the most acceptable form of if you want to call it fame or being recognized. Like I would say around Philly, maybe like 1 out of 5 people might be aware of, like somewhat aware of who I am or might recognize a double take. Some people stop and they say hello, and it's a blessing. I mean, it's so cool to have strangers happy to see you. It's a flowing, empowering thing. Yeah. It fuels me to try to keep doing good, because it means I'm doing something right, which is good. Yeah. But there's been some very strange interactions. I most recently was gifted to the station socks with my face on them, which is very
interesting. You got them? I sent them. You got them. Good. No.
That's good. I'm trying to, a woman wrote me a handwritten note that she must have sprayed with perfume and said, this card smells like me. Yeah, that happened. That happened in the last few weeks.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I had a woman, I gotta be careful what I say.
I know.
I had someone who works at a store that delivers. I'll be really generic.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I had stuff delivered to the house instead of going to a store, right?
Yeah.
Who realized it was my address and started sending me candy that I did not eat.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
But I was like, this is the craziest thing. Like, it took me a while to figure out, who is this person that's sending me this stuff? Like, have I met them? The answer was no. Like, just bizarre.
Oh my God.
So yeah, some bizarre situations. Sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I saw you were like right at the DMZ border too. Like how that must have been. So I love that you were like, I'm not going to tell my parents until after, because that's what I
Oh,
would.
absolutely not. Yeah. That was oh my God, that was the most eye-opening experience of my life. And
Yeah.
it's a job. This job is so crazy that way, where I've interviewed Elmo, I've covered Super Bowls and
Yeah.
Olympic games, and I've also been at the world's most dangerous border. It's
Yeah.
like what in the world is
Yeah.
this? But no, that was one of those opportunities. I was in South Korea for a month covering the Olympics in 2018. And the day or two before, there was a hint. They were like, hey, we might have a caravan that'll drive us to the DMZ, the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea.
Yeah.
Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So they're like, okay, 4 a.m. is when the bus leaves. It's a 5-hour drive to go to where we were, to Seoul, the capital, all the way north to North Korea. And I was like, okay, this is it. It's happening, apparently.
Oh my God.
And when you get there, we're under UN command.
Mm-hmm.
So guys with uniforms and machine guns.
Yeah.
At one point they said, there are guns trained on you right now, but we got a chance to step over the border into North Korea. Like, so it's the craziest thing to say that I've been there, but it's also a horrifying thing. Like in South Korea, they're thriving.
Yeah.
It's a capitalist society. They're very positive people. They love America and incredibly successful. Like the city of Seoul, the way it's exploded vertically with things and technology, and their big companies and Hyundai and LG and Samsung. It's a success story. Yeah. And then you go to the north where they're not free, and you cross the water as we're driving up at North Korea. It's like a brownout. Like it's like desolate. There's nothing. And then you get to the DMZ, and they've got this propaganda city with this like 60-foot long flag in the air, like just because it's bigger than the South Korean flag on the other side. And it's a fake city. And they pump music from it to make it seem like, oh, this is a really nice place. And it's not a nice place. It's a dictatorship, and you feel horrible for what the people must be enduring there, so it's a different scene. And there's also like, it's a scary thing. The DMZ is like this area all across the border between North and South Korea. It's about 2 miles deep, and it's just filled with millions of landmines. Yeah. You got to stay close to the people around you. It's horrifying. And at the moment, it was the very end, I guess, of the Korean War conflict. Yeah. And right after the games, they finally put an end to it and some peace, which was nice.
It's such a crazy but also once in a lifetime experience, but
God. For sure it's not on my top 10 list of places.
I know. No, you're gonna go vacation there. No.
right exactly crazy.
You're doing the Olympics this year, which I'm excited, right? So tell me everything about that, or if you can tell me anything.
Yeah. So I'm leaving middle of July, coming back in August, in middle of August. It'll be interesting because of coronavirus. Foreign spectators can be there. I think what's going to happen is I don't think there's going to be any spectators, even those, nationals, Japanese people. I don't think they're going to be allowed in. I don't know if we'll be allowed into the venues as media members. We certainly have access to the Olympians, face at least, because of the bubble. I think we might be in the bubble. So I don't know how it's going to work. And we're going to interview. And so my photographer and I that are going, before we were sent with a producer, and we were able to really coordinate exactly what kinds of stories we can do. It's going to be very interesting because we'll be kind of dictating what we cover, my photographer and I, and we're going to plan on doing a lot of traveling across the country and just see what the flavor is with coronavirus. Backdrop of the games, geopolitically. And have some fun with it, but it's going to be hard.
Will you be wearing a lot of American paraphernalia?
Of course. Oh my God, of course. Yeah, it's funny. We get a lot of Olympic gear from NBC, like NBC Olympic crew. So cool. And it's amazing stuff. Oh my God, yeah, it's the best. And so I mostly wear that stuff, but I'm repping my colors for sure. I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, at least in the previous games, the reason it's worth going to an Olympic Games, obviously, is for the athletes, but for the fans, it's so cool in 2018 to have walked through the Olympic Park,
Yeah.
speaking every language under the sun, and they're all very happy and welcoming of each other. There's no ill will, even though it's all about competition. And that's what's going to be missing from Japan. So it's
Yeah.
going to be really interesting. So someone's got to rock America. I'm going to be rocking America for sure. I'll be that guy.
I love it. No, that's awesome. So I know you went to Villanova. I mean, you never talk about it, but I know.
Probably too much ad nauseum.
But do you, I know you've worked with some of the best people, including Jay Wright. Like, is there one thing you've learned from him that you're like, this stands out more than anything?
Yeah. I was a student manager under Coach Wright in his first few seasons, from 03 to 06. It was like a wild ride. But to this day, he's still a mentor. And he's an incredibly honest resource, which is great too. Of all things that I learned, it's fun. He preaches attitude. That's something you hear constantly with the basketball program, that you can't control everything that happens to you in your life, but you can control the way that you handle it and endure it, right? You can control attitude. That's a really big, it's become a tenet of my life and the way I handle adversity. But more than anything else, like family is something, the importance of family and loyalty and being there for someone is what I take away the most. Like those guys are, to this day, like my brothers. Like I could see at every, and brother and sisters, some of the staff members, only because I could see them to this day at a Villanova game, and we hug, and it's as if no time has passed.
Yeah.
I went through an interesting chapter of my life in 2016. My late girlfriend passed after a car accident, and I was on the phone with her when she crashed. And we spent a week in the hospital, and she never regained consciousness from a severe head injury. So it was one of those things where I really leaned heavily on the people around me.
Yeah.
Needed to, because I was in a really, probably the worst state I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
He called and texted every single day that I was in the hospital. His wife texted. They sent a large bouquet of flowers. A lot of the staff members showed up to the funeral and the memorial service. So like little things like that really go a long, long way.
Yeah.
The weeks after that, I've got a really great picture of Coach Wright on the floor, and he's got like a sciatica.
Yeah.
Oh, Coach Wright on the floor with Charlie in his office. Like this is like 4 weeks after, before the national championship of 2016. Just, spending time relaxing, talking, like it's amazing. Yeah. And those are great life lessons just through example, you could talk all you want, but unless you're backing it up with your actions and your behaviors, it doesn't mean anything.
God. And you're so resilient. I give you so much credit.
It never goes away.
Yeah.
Like this day, like that pain and that grief, it's a little smaller. It has a smaller place in my life, but it's still just as significant, and it will always be there.
Yeah.
The other thing, the way I've tried to reframe it is like you want it to be there.
Yeah.
Like I got a hole in my heart, and I don't want it to be filled by somebody else. Like that's because she was special, and I took lessons from who she was and how she lived her life. She was incredible. Or, Kara McCollum was her name. She's a former Miss New Jersey, Princeton educated, way better writer than me. Just had like the world at her fingertips. Started a nonprofit at 16 years old that still endures today, gifting books to kids on their birthdays. Tens of thousands of kids still get books on their birthdays because of her. It's just like what she did advocating for other women.
Yeah.
It's like that had an astounding impact on my life.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly grateful for it. But yeah, because of that, it never goes away.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget about it,
Exactly. That's such a good, I feel like you say it so eloquently and so.
I had this expectation in the first year, if she passed, like I should be on a better track by this point. I should be here. I should be there. Like truth be told, like in the last, it's been 5 years, I've probably written 5 versions of this book. Like I'm trying to write a book, deals before COVID. And I just can't pull the trigger on actually getting it out there publicly because it's really personal.
Yeah.
I put so much pressure on myself with that. You can't, like I learned, it's like, you just literally have to endure and live your life the best way you can and try to have healthy habits,
Yeah.
because that's a hard thing. And just baby steps.
Yeah. No, that's such great advice too. And I have like quick rapid fire questions, but
I'm ready for the Spitfire.
first concert you ever went to?
Oh my God, 92.5 WXTU
Yeah.
and a country concert. I don't even like country music.
What? It's amazing.
Ex-girlfriend from high school who is a huge country fan. I've since evolved.
Yeah.
And I like to listen to country music only if I'm on a boat with a beer in my hand. Time I think it's appropriate for me to really appreciate country music.
You have to go to a Kenny Chesney like stadium tour if they ever come back. It's
Yes,
like,
I did. I did
what?
twice.
Yeah.
Because the tailgates are way more fun than the concert.
Yeah.
I left early in the concert. So what is this?
Yeah. Go-to karaoke song.
Oh man. It used to be Hanging Around by the Counting Crows. I feel like I have a better answer for this. I'd be lying though. So it's
it's a great song.
Karaoke guy.
One food you can't give up.
Oh gosh. Ravioli. I love ravioli.
Yeah.
That or pizza. I mean, pizza's like the your answer, but no, it's got to be ravioli. I love ravioli.
That's a good. Do you have a favorite family tradition? Like, is there a Christmas tradition you do? Or
Yeah, oh my God, my father still, depending on the age of the people listening to this, father still dresses as Santa Claus. Your brothers. So my middle brother, I say that as if one of them is like young enough to still be swayed by this, but it's been this long running tradition. And it's a funny thing at this point. But I have a youngest brother who's 9 years younger than me. So for years, when I was 18, 19, 20, my father would still dress up and do the whole thing. It just stuck, and he just keeps doing it. I was really blessed with a great set of parents, and my dad's that kind of fun personality, and so he does it. Now it's like, I think my middle brother would be really disappointed if he didn't.
Oh,
my middle brother too is doing it for his two daughters now, which is like blowing awesome thing.
Oh, that's such a cool thing to see too. And
yeah, it was corny at first. Like when I was in college, I was like, what are we doing? Ron, I grew to appreciate it. It's where you get the whole family together.
Oh, and last question, who's your favorite person that's ever interviewed you?
That's ever interviewed me? Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no,
obviously.
It wasn't a trick question at all.
No, Jess, I have to say, like, of all the people that I do interviews with, I'm never this comfortable. That's for sure.
Oh, sweet.
No, absolutely. Like, no, because it was super chill. Some people, like, they do the whole, like, all right, I'm rolling now, and count themselves in, and it's like, oh, I need to, like, restrict myself here and be careful with what I say. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And to be even considered among like the other people you've interviewed, like clearly you're doing a great thing here. So I really can't wait to
No, you were the best. And truly, you were like the biggest celebrity I know. So